A very good morning again, class. Today we are going to discuss adjective clause. Okay, it's a part of clause in your grammar book. So today, ma'am is going to teach you adjective clause. Now, children, as you can see that this topic, adjective clause, is made with two words: adjective and clause. Adjective, we know what is adjective, the word that describes noun or pronoun. And what is clause? Clause is a group of words that makes complete sense. So exactly, adjective clause is a group of words that describes noun or pronoun. This is the simplest definition of this topic, adjective clause. Now let's discuss the clauses once in detail, because once you understood what is clause, so that would be easier for you to understand what are adjective clauses or the noun clause or the adverb clause, whatever are there in your book. But according to the syllabus, we are going to study the adjective clause only. So everybody is ready? Let's proceed. What is clause, children? So clause is a group of words that forms parts of a sentence and has a subject and a finite verb of its own A part of that, a clause has only one finite verb in it. So, in the simplest manner, we can say that clause is a group of words that have a subject and a finite verb. Finite verb means we are talking about the helping verb here. This clause is almost like a sentence, as a sentence has one subject and one helping verb, same as clause also has a subject and a helping verb. As sentence make a complete sense, clause also make a complete sense, means it is a group of words that makes complete sense, that can stand on its own alone. Okay, now apart of that, it is clear to you now that clause must have a subject and a finite verb. On this basis, means what is clause? Basically, the clauses are of two types. The first one is principal clause, and the second is subordinate clause. So, what are principal clause, children? If a clause make complete sense, so it is called the principal clause or main clause. Principal clause or main clause, that is the same. It is the name of one thing, the same thing. If I, whether a ma'am says principal clause or main clause, so she is talking about the one thing, the same thing. Okay, now the second type is of subordinate clause. What are subordinate clause? If the clause is dependent on another clause for its meaning, so it is called a subordinate clause. What does it mean? Means subordinate clause can't stand alone, but the principal clause or the main clause can stand alone. Main clause makes its complete meaning. Okay, it doesn't need the help of another clause to clear its sense, but subordinate clauses take help of another clause to clear its meaning. Let's try to understand this with the help of these examples. Please pay attention to what the teacher says. Children, in this sentence, there are two clauses. The first one is please pay attention to, and the second is what the teacher says. Now, this sentence is made of two clauses. Now, let's try to find out what is main and what is subordinate. Please pay attention. This is main clause, and what the teacher says, this is subordinate clause, because this what the teacher says needs the help of the first clause, main clause, to clear its meaning. Now look at the second sentence. I will attend to you when I am free. I will attend to you. This is the main clause. And the subordinate clause is when I am free. Why it is subordinate clause, children? The first thing, it is starting with a relative adverb. When. Okay, means whenever the clause starts with any relative pronoun or relative adverb like when, where, who, whose, which, that, so this is the first identity of a subordinate clauses. The subordinate clause always take one relative adverb or pronoun to begin with. Okay, so the presence of when is telling that something is still need to be mentioned. The sentence needs something extra to clear out what is this when. That is why I will attend to you is the main clause, and when I am free, this is subordinate clause. Now look at the third sentence. They never fail who die for a noble cause. Sorry. Here, they never fail is my main clause, and who die for a noble cause is my subordinate clause. The first thing, it is introduced with who word, and this who is telling that something is still need to be mentioned. The sentence is not complete. Who die for a noble cause? Who is this who? So to clear the meaning of this who, this clause needs the help of they never fail, this main clause. Okay, now people who eat much fall sick. Here children, people, people alone is my word, the noun, and that has been modified by this complete group of words. Who eat much fall sick. Here this complete group of word is my subordinate clause, and this sentence has only one clause, because as I told you, clause is a group of words that makes complete sense. And people is not a sentence, it's not a clause, because it doesn't have subject, it doesn't have any helping verb, even it is not a group of word, it is a single word. The single word doesn't make clause, it's only a word. Okay, so this sentence has only one clause, and that is subordinate clause, and this subordinate clause needs the help of this noun people to clear its meaning. Okay, now so basically children, the subordinate, as we are talking about the adjective clause, so adjective clause is a subordinate clause. Basically children, the subordinate clauses are of three types: the noun clause, the adverb clause, and adjective clause. I'm just giving you a brief introduction of noun clause and adverb clause, but adjective clause we will study in detail. Okay, now what is noun clause? Again, pay attention on its name. It is made with two words, noun and clause. What is noun? All the naming words. A part of that, noun works as a subject in a sentence. They work as a object of your verb, your preposition, a part of the participles, and other parts of that infinite verbs also. Okay, so that is the function of a noun. And here we are talking about noun clause, and clause is a group of words with a subject and finite verb. So what is noun clause? A group of words that functions as a noun. Means a noun clause does the function of a noun. So that is called a noun clause. Now here look at the example. Tell me why you didn't return the money. Now tell me what? Why you didn't return the money. So why you didn't return the money is the object, and objects are noun. So what is the noun clause here? Because this is not a single word, it is a group of words, so that's why it is a noun clause because here this group of word is doing the function of a noun. So why you didn't return the money? This is a noun clause. Cleared? Now, adverb clause. Again, adverb we know the words that modify the verbs, and clause is again a group of words. So, an adverb or adverb clause is what that functions like an adverb in a sentence. Look at the example, like as soon as I heard the news, I left the place. Now, I left the place. Why? Here the reason is being asked. So adverb of reason we have studied, or whether if you have not, doesn't matter. Here we are talking about the adverb of reason. So I left the place. Why? Why I left the place? Or as soon as I heard the news. So as soon as I heard the news is my adverb clause. Now let's come to our main topic of the class today, that is adjective clause. So adjective clause, what is an adjective clause? A clause that acts as an adjective in a sentence, like the moment which is lost forever. Here the moment, children, the moment is noun, and that has been modified by the word which is lost. Which word is modifying? Which is lost? This word is modifying the single noun, the moment. And that is why which is lost is my adjective clause. Okay, so now let's talk about adjective clause in detail. Okay, so as I told you, what is adjective clause? An adjective clause is a subordinate clause that does the work of an adjective in a sentence. Means as an adjective modifies noun or pronoun, same as adjective clause also modify noun and pronoun only. But adjective is a single word. Okay, but here we are talking about adjective clause. So here it is a group of word. A group of word that has one subject and one finite verb. Adjective clause always modify a noun or pronoun and is placed nearest to the word it modifies. That we know that, children, adjective adjectives are always placed closest to the word they modify, closest to the noun or pronoun they modify. Same as adjective clause also function. They are also placed close nearest to the word they modify. Now here, the boy who is wearing a blue shirt is my brother. Now find out the adjective clause in this. Here my adjective clause is who is wearing a blue shirt. How is it an adjective clause? Who. This who word is referring to which noun in this? The boy. And the boy is a noun that has been modified by the group of words who is wearing a blue shirt. We are talking about the boy who is wearing a blue shirt. So this is the quality of that boy. What is the quality of that boy? Who is wearing a blue shirt. So who is wearing a blue shirt is my adjective clause in this sentence. Now second sentence is we need a house that should not be too old. Now here, what is the adjective clause in that? That should not be too old. Why? The first thing, that is referring to what? A house. We are talking about a house here. What should be the significance of that house? It should not be too old. So as this group of word that should not be too old is modifying a word, a house, that is why it is adjective clause. Okay, as we say now, An old house. So what is an old house? Here old is adjective. So in clause it will be a house that is old or too old. The same thing we have done. We have converted that single adjective in a group of words that has a subject and a verb. Don't forget this thing, children. Only having a group of word is not clause. That is a phrase. But a group of word with a subject and a helping verb, your finite verb, is only a clause. And here we are talking about the clause, not the phrases. So don't forget that it must have a subject and a verb. And look at the third sentence. The train that goes to Assam comes at 6 p.m. Here, that goes to Assam. This is my adjective clause. How? Because it is modifying the word the train. This group of word is modifying the noun the train. Which train we are talking about? That goes to Assam. So that goes to Assam is my adjective clause. Now look at the fourth sentence. India is the country where I was born. Here my adjective clause is where I was born, because where is referring to India, the country, the place, that is a noun. So where I was born is my adjective clause. Now, how to identify an adjective clause? Means as right now ma'am was picking out the adjective clause, so you must have got confused that how will we place. So the first rule is that, children, adjective clause is introduced by relative pronouns. What are relative pronouns? Who, whom, whose, which, and that. They are always introduced by a relative pronoun. Look at here. The child who scored first position is my friend. Now suppose if I have to pick out or identify the adjective clause, so what we need to do first? We need to find out the relative pronoun that is going to introduce my adjective clause. And I told you what are the relative pronouns? Who, whom, whose, which, and that. So here, who scored first position? This should be my adjective clause. And this adjective clause is introduced by a relative pronoun. And what is that relative pronoun? Who. And this whole adjective clause is modifying which noun? What is that noun? The child. And as that the child is a noun that is modified by this group of words, that is why it is adjective. Okay, now look at all that glitters is not gold. Now find out the adjective clause. What is adjective clause in this? That glitters. Why? Because it is introduced by the relative pronoun that. That glitters. And to which word this clause is modifying? All. Okay, so that glitters is my adjective clause here. Now, a part of relative pronouns. An adjective clause can also be introduced by relative adverbs. And what are these relative adverbs? When, for time, where, for place, why, for reason, and how, for manner. So basically the adjective clause is introduced by relative pronouns and relative adverbs, and you have to keep these relative pronouns and relative adverbs remember, children, like who, whom, whose, which, and that, a part of when, where, why, and how. Now look at the example. This is the school where I became educated. Okay, this is the school where I became educated. So what is your adjective clause in this? Where I became educated. And this adjective clause is introduced by which word? Where. and it is modifying to which noun? The school. Okay, now look at the next example. Those were the days when everyone lived in peace. Now find out the adjective clause. As I told you, they are introduced by relative pronoun or relative adverbs. So which relative pronoun or adverb is used? Here, find out when. So what is your adjective clause in this? When everyone lived in peace. Okay, and what is your relative uh, adverb or pronoun used in this? That is when. This is relative adverb. And to which word this adjective clause is modifying? The days. Okay, so is it clear to everybody that we can identify an adjective clause with the help of relative pronoun or relative adverbs? Now, there is one exception, children. Sometimes relative pronoun or relative adverb is not used to introduce the adjective clause. Why is it so? The first reason is that whenever they are found unnecessary, so in that case, these relative pronoun or adverbs are omitted. But it doesn't make any difference in the meaning of the sentence, and neither it is grammatically wrong. Now here, the instrument I love is piano, or the instrument that I love is piano. There is no difference in their meaning. Both the sentence have same sense, and grammatically also they both are right. But the reason behind omitting that is that means the we find it unnecessary to use. It is not that much important to use this relative pronoun in the sentence. That's why it is omitted. If you use it in the sentence while writing, then also you are not wrong. It is correct. But sometimes you get a sentence to identify the adjective clause where you would not get any relative pronoun or relative adverb. So you have to be a bit careful. You have to focus on, you have to find out or identify that which group of word is modifying a noun or pronoun in that sentence. Like the instrument I love is piano. Here, so what is my adjective clause here? I love, because it is modifying which noun? The instrument. Same as this is the tie I bought. So what is my adjective clause here? I bought. Okay, and it is modifying to which noun? The tie. In this sentence also that is omitted, and the other sentence I have written with that to give you a sense that at which place the word has been omitted. Okay, now the second is the vacancy you are referring to has already been filled. So what is my adjective clause here? Has been filled. What has been filled? The vacancy. So this adjective clause is modifying or describing to which noun? The vacancy here. Okay, so that is. Now it's time to take a review that go for a practice that you have learned in today's class. So let's find out the adjective clauses in the given sentences. Is everybody ready? So let's proceed, children. My first sentence is the room where he stays is locked. So what is my adjective clause in this? Where he stays. Why? To which noun it is modifying? The room. Okay, now next is he is the boy that he was looking for. Now what is my adjective clause here? Find out the relative pronoun or adverb. What is used? That. So my adjective clause is that he was looking for, and to which word they are describing? The boy. Okay, now next, I found the letter that you threw away. Again here, what is adjective clause? That you threw away. And to which noun they are modifying? The letter. Here it is, an object has been modified by this adjective clause. The letter. Okay. Now next, those who live in glass house should not throw stones at others. So my adjective clause is who live in glass house, and it is modifying to which word? Those. This pronoun is modified by this adjective clause. Okay. Now the reason why I selected you is obvious. Again, identify it with the help of relative pronoun or adverb. Why? Why is my relative adverb? So it is why I selected you. This is my adjective clause and it is modifying to which word? The reason. Okay, the reason is my noun here. Now, he who wins the race shall get the prize. Now, my what? Find out. Identify the adjective clause. Who wins the race? And to which noun or pronoun they are describing? He. Okay. Now, the last sentence is, I remember the hospital where I was born. Let's try, children, first. What is adjective clause in this? Where I was born. Yes, it is describing a place. And what is that place? The hospital. This noun. So I hope it must be clear to the class that what are adjective clauses. What are adjective clauses, children? A group of words that functions as an adjective. And what is adjective? Adjective describes a noun or pronoun in a sentence. So, same as what are adjective clauses? Adjective clauses also describe a noun or pronoun in a sentence. I hope it must be clear to everybody and you all are going to solve the exercises first in the book. Cleared? That's all for today's class, children. Jai Hind, Jai Bharat.